Yes, it's really me this time. I am really here talking to you from my own brain, which is what I've been talking to you with before, but with my own mouth, and my own eyes are looking at you in the camera because I keep forgetting. I'm recording this in OBS, so unfortunately I'm going to continue to look down at the computer screen to criticize my performance as I'm recording it. So I'm going to forget to look at the camera sometimes, so I apologize in advance for that. But I'm going to talk to you about the Uncanny Valley. Sorry, I just thunked my hands on the desk. Shook the camera a little bit. The Uncanny Valley is... There I go, critiquing my performance. Oh, my hair fell out of place. Oh no. By the way, I got a haircut. Did you see that? The Uncanny Valley is the situation where people looking at something get creeped out because they can't tell if it's real or not. And that's getting to be the case with avatars. The artificial intelligence avatars are becoming so hyper-realistic in their performances that people can no longer tell that they're real. And I wanted to tell you a couple of things that you can use to be able to tell that they're real as of December of 2023, is that the technology is going to advance eventually so that these things are going to become surmounted by the technology, but for now, this is still a way you can tell that avatars are fake and that they're not real people. For one thing, in my last video, the War Games Ain't Sci-Fi Anymore video, one of the commenters said that quote-unquote woman is creepy because he could tell that she wasn't a real person. And the person replied to it with, "She's not breathing." And I thought to myself, as I watched the video again to see, I thought, well, yeah, my sentences are so long and complex that you can tell that she's not having to stop and inhale. That's something that you can tell with a real person. We have to stop and inhale every once in a while. It's more obvious with me because I have emphysema, so my lungs rasp when I breathe, so you can hear me inhaling. But for a normal person, even if you can't hear them inhaling, you can see their chest rise up, you can see them stop and purse their mouth differently while they inhale. Or their nostrils flare when they inhale. See? You can tell when I'm inhaling with my nostrils, even though I'm not using my mouth. But you can hear it too because I've got a hay fever right now. Just got over a cold. But that's one way you can tell that avatars are not real. There's another thing that I thought nobody's commented on. Although they've commented on the action of, here, let me put an inset picture of the video I'm talking about. There's two avatars that I've used that do really strange things with their hands, and I made a comment about them in the video that I used them in. Avatars tend to do this with their hands and just repeatedly flip their hands over. And sometimes they'll do this emphasis thing. And it may or may not have anything to do with what they're saying. But another thing that you'll notice avatars never do is put their hands on their head, their face, anything above their shoulders. Avatars don't do this because the technology for avatars animates from the shoulders down differently than from the neck up. So if a person filming avatar footage is told to never raise their hands above their shoulders, because when the avatar is animated later, the animation from the neck down will show the hands going up, but the animation from the shoulders up will not show the hands in the head space. So the forearms will go up and the hands will disappear. And you'll go, oh my God, that's fake. So they say, well then just don't do that so no one will ever know. But the way to be able to tell is that when avatars don't raise their hands into their headspace and do this kind of stuff, or scrap their nose, or just kind of, you know, they don't do that. Sorry, I bumped the microphone. Also, avatars don't bump the microphone. That's obvious, but you know, another thing you'll never see an avatar do is handle props. Avatars don't do this because the prop will be an inset picture beside them. They can't interact with it because it's a picture in front of them in post-production. But a non-avatar can actually pick up the book and hold it and open it and flip the pages and say, this is the real book. By the way, this is my plug for the book. You know, I wrote this book. Yes, I'm still plugging it. But anyway, here's another thing that you'll never see avatars do. Even when they show the, let me stand up and do this real quick. I need to step back a little bit further so I'm entirely in the picture. Okay, you'll never see an avatar do this. Move from one side of this picture to the other. You'll see them be switched over to the other side, but they'll never actually move there because avatars stand still. So you'll never see an avatar actually moving across the picture like this. And that's another way you can tell that they're fake, is they don't move around. I move around. No, actually I don't. When I'm sitting and doing my vlogs on the couch, I sit still. Well, there was one time I scooted over to show something in the foreground because I knew it was going to be a bigger picture. But yeah, avatars don't scratch their head like this. Avatars don't scruff their nose. Avatars don't scratch their chin. You'll never see that. And so far, they don't inhale. I inhale because I'm real. I also want to talk a little bit about, and there's a little something I wanted to add at the end, but for right now I wanted to talk about some of the avatars that I've been using. The worst that I've used so far, actually there's two worsts. The worst one is Henry, because his mouth moves like that annoying monkey with the cymbals. So the criticism I've always made about avatars is that you'll never be able to convince me that they're real until you can get a deaf person to know what they're saying. Because if the animation of their mouth does not actually match the words that they're saying, then a deaf person will not be able to tell what they're saying. So the animation is not accurate. But then of course there's Henry, who, let me scoot over to one side so you can see him better. His mouth moves like that monkey with the cymbals. He's terrible. I mean, he sounds great. His voice acting was good. But then there's this lady with the long hair. Let me go to this side to show her off on this side here. The lady with the long straight hair, her performance was so dead. I mean, at least the Marcos character that I used in the Life Behind a Paywall video, his performance might have been lifeless and lacking energy, but at least he was authoritative. At least he sounded commanding, even though he was sedated. And I made fun of him for that purpose too. But the lady with the long straight hair was just lifeless and boring. So yeah, you've got to be careful with the avatars that you choose, depending on the content that you want to present. I noticed my Emerson, Lake and Palmer video is still getting lots of views, even though I chose the lady to present it on purpose that I felt like she was out of place for the material. But a lot of people have said, no, if she was in her 20s in the early 70s and this is what she would look like now, this could be the age of a woman who was a fan of that song when it was a hit. Oh yeah, that's true. That could be. So yeah, it may not have been all that out of place, but her performance wasn't great. It wasn't the worst that I've seen in avatars, but it wasn't the best. Her mouth movements were not animated very well, but at least it wasn't as bad as Henry's. Like I said, Henry looks like that stupid monkey with the cymbals. And that's all his mouth does. But anyway, so that's my assessment of the uncanny valley that we have yet to cross, and my tips and tricks on how to tell. But let me append the lecture on realism and consequences and ethics. So, welcome back to the Uncanny Valley. I'm looking forward to a time when we cross the Uncanny Valley, but on the other hand, I'm also kind of not. Because of the fact that when there's no longer any way to tell whether or not it's real, then you won't be able to tell whether or not the information is real or even presented by the person who seems to be presenting it. I noticed in a video just this morning that KISS has done motion capture studies of themselves performing so that they can have videos made of themselves performing their songs for eternity, basically. But unfortunately, this also means that their avatars can be used to be spokespersons for any kind of movements. The people who are KISS, Gene Simmons, Paul Stanley, Tommy Thayer, may not agree with, but it won't be in their power to disagree with it because they've sold the rights for their avatars to be used. Yes, I'm a KISS rock star, but I'm also a spokesperson for Hamas or a spokesperson for the Israeli government. That, you know, both Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley will say, no, I have a very strong opinion on that and I don't agree with what that avatar said. Well, sorry, the person who purchased the time on the avatar said, I want that avatar to say that. And you won't be able to defend yourself against it. So the audiences will end up seeing this stuff and not knowing whether or not it's actually KISS representing that stuff or not. Scary future we're going to be approaching. But strangely enough, that's also the future we're already in. Because, you know, as we've seen, the artificial intelligence activity, the deepfake technology is already being used. There's a story that has been going around for the past couple of years, very quietly, but there are deepfake scams being perpetrated. Because I'm a YouTuber, my voice is now pretty much public domain. And while he was still alive, my father did receive a deepfake call using my voice to perpetuate a scam. The caller, pretending to be my voice, claimed to be in jail, have been in an accident, broke his nose, and needed bail money. And before calling me to check and see if there was any truth to that, because I was at work at the time, at the office, not at home. I was at work in the office. He started trying to call his bank to see if he could get the money to bail me out. And then he called my sister, and my sister had the good sense to say, well, why don't we just call Todd's cell phone and see who answers? And I answered and I said, I'm at work. What's going on? Turns out I was not in jail, my nose was not broken, and I did not need bail to get out of jail. This was a deep fake of my voice because I have made it publicly available. I did not consent to it, to being deep faked or to be avatared. So it's still a criminal deep fake, but no one could prosecute because there's no way you'd be able to track where that call came from or prosecute people who did it. But still, I did not consent to it, but also it got done without my consent. And the person who heard the information believed it. This is the problem we're already facing with this avatar technology. And this is one of the things that I've been rallying against in my artificial intelligence videos is this future is already upon us. We need to embrace it and make sense out of it. We need to explain it to ourselves and find ways to make it so that we can tell the difference. And in this video, I've shown you a few examples of how you can tell the difference so far. Frustratingly, as technology progresses, some of these abilities to tell the difference will no longer be true. And that may happen fairly soon, especially since I'm now decrying the things that I've talked about. I'm sure someone's going to say, ooh, I want to find a way to defeat that. Of course, it's going to happen fairly soon because I talked about it. And you know, it's funny. There was a vlog that I did back when I first got my ring light. You can see it on my glasses here. I made the joke of how can you not notice that you're a cybernetic organism? And I think if I remember, I took my glasses off and I leaned straight into the ring light and I looked straight at it so that the ring light would be reflected off my eyeball. And I said, How can you not tell?